Welcome to the Run Your Day podcast, a show dedicated to helping you expand your capacity, take your life in every area to an entirely new level, and creating a day and a life by design. Here's your host, Dan Hafner. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Run Your Day podcast for another day and another episode. This is Dan Hafner, your host. Today's topic is this: all-out blitz. As always, appreciate you guys joining. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. So, the topic I wanted to talk about, I have a little story for you guys to tell you guys. It's about this concept of an all-out blitz. And I was inspired to kind of tell you this story based on something that I had, something that happened to me that I basically did for myself. And I was kind of told to tell this story by one of my mentors that saw the success happen and wanted me to share it in some way. So I figured what better way than to do that through a podcast. So the story I'm going to tell you guys, and I promise this is all going to loop back to the all-out blitz concept. But actually, but before I do that, I'm going to preface this with this. So the coronavirus pandemic and all these lockdowns and shutdowns, and whatever you want to call it, has truly presented an opportunity for all of us, right? And it's how you see it. It's how you choose to perceive it, right? Because it all comes back to the storyline you're telling yourself. Are you telling yourself that you're a victim of this, that you were, forced out of a job, or you were forced to work at home and you're a victim to whatever is happening in the world and there's nothing you can do about it? Or are you looking at it and perceiving it as an opportunity to sharpen your ability to work from home, to maybe even take the first step in starting your own business or jumping into a virtual career, or taking this time to take advantage of spending more time with your family and being more present with your family, being more engaged with your spouse or your kids or your pets or whatever the hell you got, right? It's all about how you perceive it. And a lot of people, when this applies to business, there's this romanticism out there. There's this, I don't know the right word for it. There's this attitude out there that when you have a startup or you have a new business or you're a grinder, you're a hustler, you just workaholic, right? And I think a lot of people get that confused with just doing what you have to do in order to keep the ship afloat, right? And sometimes it requires an all-out blitz. Like one metaphor I can think of off the top of my head is, back in the days when there were kings and they would run kingdoms. A king sits on his throne and he governs and he makes decisions and he does his king thing up in his castle, right? But every once in a while, when there was barbarians at the gates, or there was people that he had to go to war with, or some shit was going on with the kingdom or whatever, the king would come down off the throne and he would go handle shit, right? He would be the hustler. He would go out and he would be like, you know what? I got to take care of this shit. I got to lead. I got to do what I got to do. And he'd be in hustle mode. He'd be in warrior mode, right? Instead of just, I'm the king, I'm governing, I'm being strategic, I'm doing whatever. And I think a lot of people only see that side in business. They see the people that are workaholics, that are hustling, that are, working 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day, 20 hours a day, never sleeping, never taking vacation, never have time for their family. But they might just be in that season of an all-out blitz, being in hustle mode, being in warrior mode, right? So this is where my story comes in. So, there was a time when I was, and I'm still doing this, but back when I was starting up, if any of you guys have known or followed me for a while, you know that I went down this path of app development, right? And I created this app called Runwage, which was basically a codeless app, which was meaning there's no code in it. I'm not a coder. I don't even know how to write code, but there's platforms out there that you can use plug and play, drag and drop type features, just like a Wix website, right? You just say, hey, I want to build this. I want to do this. I want to do that. And it's actually taken off. It's done pretty well. It's pretty awesome. I'm really, really excited about it. I also decided to go down this path of I started a company called Dapper Mobile Apps, right? You can check it out at dappermobileapps.com. But what I do is I take those codeless apps and I build apps for other entrepreneurs, for other businesses, specifically small businesses. Starting to work more with individual solopreneurs and things like that as well. But when I first started that, I had a coach, I had a mentor who was kind of teaching me, how do I get sales? How do I do this? How do I actually make this work? And it was tough. Like it was straight hustle mode all the time, right? And I played the victim for a while. I played like, well, nobody's got the money for this. Nobody can, has the need for this, blah, 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 whatever, right? And when what finally changed for me was when I took a different approach, when I really buckled down and I took 2 weeks, like 2 weeks for myself to just do an all-out blitz of cold calling, of emailing, of Facebook messaging, of, hours and hours and hours and hours of work, posting up on Craigslist, posting up on Fiverr, on all the different things, right, that the internet has to offer. Some would say, that's desperation. Some would say, well, you're just devaluing yourself, or hey, you're just, you're spamming people or whatever. And the way that I was like, you know what? You might be right, but I'm not going to choose to look at it that way. I'm going to choose to look at this as I'm doing everything I possibly can in an all-out blitz to provide, to succeed, and to make this shit happen. Like, zero excuses, zero quit, right? And it paid off. It freaking paid off. I got one of my first customer. It was not even that much money. Like it wasn't even like life-changing money. It was like $500, but it was, oh man, it was just like the feeling that I got was just relief, validation, satisfaction of like, you know what? Like I went deep, I focused, I got serious about it, and I dove in, and ever since then things have just taken off, So tying all this back into, the coronavirus pandemic and how the reality of our lives has all changed, maybe this presents a great opportunity. And if you haven't even been all out blitzing for the past 6 weeks that we've been in lockdown, maybe now's the time to start. Maybe now is the time to focus down, to get very, very clear on what you want to do, what result you want to have, and just fucking go for it. Like, go for it. No excuses. All out, right? I know this kind of reminds me of the Grant Cardone conversation. If you've ever, whether you've heard of Grant Cardone or not, whether you like him or hate him, just this idea of 10x. He always talks about this idea of 10x, right? You have to 10x your effort, 10x your time. Everything's going to take 10x the effort you thought it was going to take. It's just rule of 10x. You can find his book. It's called 10x Rule. You can buy it online. I think it's like $6-7, whatever. But it's a really, really good. I got the audiobook and I've listened to it several times, and this conversation reminds me of that, because when I started all this, when I did this podcast, when I did my Runway app, when I did Dapper Mobile Apps, when I'm getting this podcast going again, I know that I can count on 10x the effort, 10x the money, and 10x the time to just get a result that I want to get. Like if I know I have the bar at point B, right? Like let's just imagine this in your mind. I have the bar set here. I know that even if I try freaking hard for 30 days, I might only get it up to point A, right? You have to think that, okay, say you want to make $1,000 in a new business, whatever, like you just call it a round number. You might say, okay, well, if I do this action, this action, this action, and this action, that should get me to $1,000. And then you do it and you're like, oh my God, I made $10, right? But I also spent all this money on ads. I did all this marketing. I did all these Facebook posts. I messaged all these people. I called all this stuff and I got no results, right? This is what happened to me during this phase of getting my first customer. I was like, man, if I just call like 50 people, I should be able to close like 2 or 3 of them, make this much money. And then I got to 50 people and I was like, holy shit, I'm not even anywhere, right? So it literally took me 10x, like 10 times the amount of people to contact, 10 times the amount of work to actually just get the one result that I was searching for, right? So the lesson of the All Out Blitz episode is this, right? It's count on 10xing the blitz mode that you have to be in to get the result that you want, because you're always going to underestimate the amount of time, money, and effort that it takes to achieve some big shit in your life. Like, it's just true. It's universally true. And if it comes easier, I'd ask you to consider that it might not be worth it, right? If you find that you reached a goal that is a lot easier, or it might not be fulfilling. It might not be the right goal, right? And I'm not saying everything that we achieve in life has to be super hard and take super long to achieve and all that. I'm not saying that at all. But the things that are really worth it, the things that last, that really touch our souls and touch our hearts and propel us to new levels in our life, if you're not struggling and suffering a little bit and striving too much, like it really doesn't turn out to be worth it. And I know I've been doing this for 3-4 years now. Like, if I don't struggle for shit, like, it doesn't feel worth it to me. It just doesn't feel worth it to me. So that's going to wrap up the show. I appreciate you guys joining. One more takeaway for this, just use the coronavirus lockdown or whatever situation that you're in right now. Try to think of, what can I focus on? What do I need to all out blitz on my life? Maybe it's a relationship, maybe, hey, I need to take this week or these next 2 weeks that we're in lockdown and focus on being more present for my kids or my spouse or a parent or a grandparent or whatever it might be, right? What you focus on is what you get, right? What you focus on is what you get. I'm going to say that one more time for the cheap seats. What you focus on is what you get. Okay? So I encourage you to take this lesson, maybe share it with someone, think about it, write it down, journal it, whatever you got to do. But if you want more episodes like this, more resources like this, you can head over to runyourdaypodcast.com. That's right. We got the page up. We're good to go. We're set. You can get early access to the Run Your Day membership, all kinds of extra stuff. And as always, stay tuned. I'm building a very similar app to the Runwage app for the Run Your Day podcast. So I'm really, really excited about that. It's going to be awesome. It's still some time away. I will keep you guys updated, but I'm going to keep reminding you of it because it's going to be fucking dope. All right, my friends, that is all. This is Dan Hafner signing off. Make it a great rest of your day.